Adding video to your podcast can be a great way to reach a significantly larger audience, and it can be very simple. But let's say that you've already started adding video to your show and you're looking for a way to level that video up just a little bit. Well, today I'm going to show you how to make animated graphics to put on screen for questions from your viewers or listeners. This is important because the people that are watching your podcast are watching your podcast, and giving them something to look at might make it easier for them to follow the questions that were sent in, but it doesn't have to take anything away from your audio audience. It's also worth noting that you don't have to just use this for podcasts. You can also use this for all different YouTube videos that aren't podcasts. And stick around to the end, because at the end, I'm going to show you how you can make this once and then never have to make it again. It's going to be a huge time saver. So let's jump into Davinci Resolve. So let's hop into Davinci Resolve. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to the edit page. And on the edit page, on the media pool, I'm going to right click. I'm going to click on New Fusion Composition. I'm going to go ahead and name that viewer question. And I'm going to change the duration to 1 minute. And the reason I want to go with 1 minute is because it's going to take me time to read my viewer question out loud, and I want to have the text on screen the entire time, and I'll be able to just cut it off at the end if it's too long. So I'm going to go ahead and hit create now, and you can see it popped up right here, and I'm going to double click right here on these little stars. That's going to bring me into the Davinci Resolve Fusion page. Now, once you're in the Fusion page, yours might not look like this. And you don't have to have yours look like this, but if you want yours to look like this, I'm going to click on Workspace, and I'm going to come down to Layout Presets, Fusion Presets, and then Mid-Flow Vertical is the one that I'm using. And if you look, I've got my node graph over here. I'm going to take media out. I'm going to drag it down to the bottom, and I'd like to work top to bottom on this. And I'm also going to right click in my node graph, and I'm going to say that I want to go to options, and then I want to build flow vertically. So basically it's saying I'm building it from top to bottom. If you want to do yours left to right, that it's going to work exactly the same. It will just look slightly different. All right. So the first thing that I need to do is I need to add in a background. So I'm going to hit Shift Space. I'm going to type BG to bring up my background tool. I'm going to press enter, and you can see my background. I'm going to bring that all the way up to the top, and I'm going to drag it down and connect it to the media out. And now you can see that it turned black. Once we have that, then I'm going to come over here to my inspector. If you don't see your inspector, you can click on this button right here, and I'm going to change it from a solid color to a 4-corner. Now that I've got my options here, I'm going to click on the top left, and I'm going to select a color. We'll go with blueberry. I'll hit OK. And then top right, and I will click tangerine. Hit OK. Bottom left, I'm going to go with bubblegum. And then on the bottom right, I'm going to go with lead. So here's our starting point. This is our background. The next thing that I need to do once I've got my background in, I need to bring in, I don't have to do this, but this is just the way that I want to build it. I want to bring in an image to put over top, and I'm going to show you why in a second. So I'm going to hit Shift Space, and I'm going to type loader. What this does, this node brings in an image off of your hard drive. So I'm going to hit loader, and it's going to automatically pop up the Finder, and I'm going to select hexagons, which when I named it, I accidentally put a space in there, but whatever, it doesn't matter. And I'll click open. And you can see that we've just loaded in our hexagons, and I don't like the way that this looks, so I'm just going to highlight these, bring them down a little, and I'll bring hexagon over here and my merge over here. And once I've done that the first time, then the rest of them will just start to build that way automatically. All right, so I've got my hexagons. Now the problem is that it's cut off on the left and on the right. So what I'm going to do is I need to make this a different size. And in order to change anything in Fusion for its size, you're going to use a transform node. There's a couple of different transform nodes. There's this one and then this one. And I find, try one, see if it does what you want, try the other, see if it does what you want. And I always end up landing on different ones for different things. So I'm going to go ahead and add that transform node. The transform node, then I'm going to come over to my inspector and I'm going to change the size, and it's going to fill up the screen. So now it's covering up that background that I just made. Now, why would I want to do that? Well, because I'm going to take this file, and if you look over here, the merge basically tells Davinci Resolve how is this file going to interact with this background. And if I click on the merge node right over here, I have an apply mode, and I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to click on screen. And now you can see that we got all these bright colors shining through the hexagons. But now I can just use my down arrow to try different things until I find something that I like. And I think I like this one, which is called Hard Light. I like the way that looks. All right, so now we have our hexagons, and they're colored by the background node that's up here. The next thing that I'm going to do is I want to bring in my podcast logo. So Shift Space, and think about it for a second. How do we load something in? With the loader. And I'm going to click on my Nerd Nest logo. That's the name of my podcast. I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to click this little gray box, drag it over here. It automatically creates a new merge node and puts it connects everything up for you. So you don't really even have to think about it. Now, the one thing that I'm automatically noticing here is that this logo is way too big. So I need to change its size. So how do we change size? With a transform node. Now, here's a quick tip. If I just click here and I type my transform node and I click, it just puts it right there. But I'm going to delete that. Instead, if I click on this node, which is the node that I want to transform, and I'm going to hit Shift space, and then I'll type XF for transform, and then enter, it automatically connects the node to the node that I'm trying to manipulate. So now I'm going to click on my transform tool, and I'm going to change the size because it's way too big. That's a lot better. I can also grab these little handles and I can move it around on the screen. I'm going to move it over here to the left-hand side. Now, one thing that I like to do is I like to put a drop shadow underneath different things. So there's two ways that I can do it. I can insert my drop shadow after the transform node, which would put it right here, and it would be between the transform node and the merge node. But I'm going to instead just move my transform node over here to the right, and then I'm going to click on my file node, my loader node, and I'm going to hit Shift Space, and I'm going to hit Drop Shadow. And now you can see that there's a nice drop shadow, and if I want to, I can adjust that drop shadow. I can change the angle, I can change the strength, but I'm going to leave those things the same. By the way, I wanted to jump in here real quick. I'm Bill Fairchild, and this is my channel all about content creation. So if you're finding this interesting or useful, please subscribe. Now back to what I was saying. All right. So now that I've got that done, the next thing that I want to do is I want to put in some text. The text is going to be the viewer question. There's this new feature in Davinci Resolve 20. I am on the public beta for Davinci Resolve 20, as you can see right now. And I'm going to bring in some text, and if I click on this merge node right here, and I type Shift Space and MT for multi-text right there, and press Enter, it's going to grab those and put them right where I want them. All right, so we've got a new merge node plus the multi-text, and you can see that we've got some text on the screen. All right, so the first text is going to be the username of the person who is sending in whatever comment it is that they're sending in. And I can come down here, I can change the font. I'm gonna scroll up and I'm gonna find a font that I like. I'm gonna use Archivo Condensed. And now I'm going to move this over here and down. I'm actually gonna make it a little bit smaller. I don't need it to be that big. All right. So there's my username, and I'll put a little dash in front of it. All right. Next, if you look up here, this is one of the cool things with multi-text is you can have all of your text in one node instead of having a different piece of a different node for each piece of text that you're putting on screen. So you have three options. You have your point layout, your text box layout, and your circle layout. I'm going to go with a text box layout. And now it's added that text, and I'm going to bring it over here to the side, and we've got to get some text to actually put in here. So I'm going to grab a lorem ipsum, which is just some nonsense words that are, randomly generated, and I'm going to paste those in there. So this is the comment that this person sent in. Now I'm going to click on my font. I'm going to change it to the font that I want to use, Archivo Condensed. And I don't like the way that this looks because it's white text, and you can see that there is an issue where it's kind of like some of the letters are fading into the background. You can't see what they say. So what I am going to do before we get going on that is I'm going to make this a little bit taller. And the reason I'm doing that is because, if they have a longer comment, I want it all to fit on screen. I will click on username. I'll move that down. Whoops. There we go. All right. So here's what we're going to do. If we look over here on the inspector on the right-hand side, I'm going to click on username, and we're going to go to shading. And I'm going to add a shadow. So I'm going to come down here to the bottom and enable a shadow, which you can't really see it because that's over the top of a dark part. But I can do the same thing with my main text, shadow. Now it's much easier to read, but still, I think if I add a black outline around the text, it'll make it even easier for my viewers to be able to read what the person is saying while I'm talking about it. So in order to do that, I'm going to click on outline. And by default, I don't know why, but Davinci Resolve loves to have red outlines on text. So I'm going to click on that and change it to a different color. I'll use lead, and we'll enable it. And now you can see there's a very thin line around there. If I want to make that line bigger or thinner, I can just adjust the thickness right here, which I just did. I'm going to do the same thing with the username, outline, enable, change the color, and adjust the thickness. All right, there we go. Okay, so now we pretty much have it done. We've got all of our stuff set up, but I mean, I could have just done this in any image editing software. So why would I do it in Davinci Resolve? Well, because I want to animate some of this stuff, and I want to do it randomly so that it never looks the same way twice, but I don't have to rebuild it every single time. So here's what we need to do. In order to get this to work, we need to go back and start looking at some of these other nodes. One of the things that I think that I want to do is I want the hexagons to slowly change size over time. Well, how did I change the size of the hexagons? I did that using this transform node. So I'm going to click on the transform node, and then over here, I want to change the size over time. So what I could do if I wanted is I could come to the beginning. This is where your playhead is, and I could drag my playhead to the beginning of the animation, and I could click on this little keyframe button right here on the right hand side, and now it turned orange. And then I can come over to the end, and I could change the size. And then if I hit play, you can see that the size changes over time, but I don't want to do that because I want it to be different every time. So I've undone those changes. And what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to right click on the size attribute, whatever attribute that it is that you want to change or make random. Right click on that attribute. You're going to come down here to modify with. Now, before I click this, if you look up here, modifiers is grayed out. You can't click on it. It doesn't do anything. But now I'm going to add a modifier so that then I can change some things about this. So I'm going to modify my transform size with a perturb. I don't know what perturb means, but that's what it is. So I'm going to click on that, And you can see that the size just changed and it added a keyframe. Now, if I come into my modifiers, I can change how strong this thing is, how much it wobbles, and how much speed it has. So let me go back to the beginning. And if you look, well, that's terrible. I do not like that. So what's happening? Well, the strength is way too high. So I'm going to grab this. I'm going to bring it all the way down to like 0.08. Now I'll go back to the beginning of the playhead. I'm going to hit play. That's pretty good. I'm going to lower that just a little bit more, 0.07. And one thing that I think is, I think that it's moving too much, too fast. So I'll just slow down the speed. I'm going to grab the speed and slow this way down. Now I'm going to hit play. And you can see it is very slowly moving. Not a lot, because that would be distracting and make it hard for people to read what you're looking at, but just a little tiny bit. And I think that that's really great. So I'm going to go ahead and hit pause. And the next thing that I want to do is I want to change the colors in the background, or not necessarily the colors, but I want to change how the hexagons are interacting with the background, and I want it to do it randomly. So I'm going to go to my merge node, the merge one node, which is the merge of the hexagons and the background. I'm going to click on that merge node, and then I'm going to come down here to under my apply mode. I can change a lot of stuff. So I can change the gain. I can change the blend. So I'm going to right click on the, which one do I want to do? I'm going to go with blend. And I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say modify with perturb, just like last time. And then I'm going to go into my modifiers and let's see how this looks. I'm going to hit play. Okay, it's changing way too much. So I'm going to lower the strength so it's not changing as much. I'm going to lower it a lot. And I'm going to do the same thing with the speed so it's not quite as noticeable, because you don't want it to be too intense. Let me hit play. I'm going to let it play through. Actually, I'm going to fast forward through it so we can see what's happening. And as you can see, it's changing all over the place. This is great. So now I kind of feel like I've nailed it. Let me go into, I want to see how it looks. I'm going to go into my edit page, and you're like, well, where is it? It's right up here. We just edited it up here. I'm going to grab it, drag it down to my timeline. And now my computer has to think for a minute. There we go. We have it. Now, before I hit play, because this is going to be, it's asking my computer to do a bunch of things. If your computer is less powerful, you might want to click on playback, render cache, playback, render cache, and then set it to smart. And a little red line is going to show up right up here. If it's red, that means it's unrendered. And if it's blue, that means that it's rendered. So it's going through and it's rendering this file. So once it finishes, we'll see what it looks like. All right, it's all done. And I'm just going to hit play. And we can see that the hexagons are changing size a little bit. The colors are bleeding through at different amounts, and you can read everything that's on the screen. I think that this is a win. You do not want to go through and redo this every single time that you have a new user question. So how do we repurpose this so that we can keep going and using the same file over and over and over? Check this out. I'm going to jump into Fusion. I'm going to come up here to File, and I'm going to say Export Fusion Composition. It's going to ask me to save. I'm going to go ahead and save it as tutorial.comp. Actually, you know what? I'm going to save this as, because I think I'm actually going to use this. Viewer NN for Nerd Nest, because that's the name of my podcast. Viewer question.comp. And I'm going to save that in this file, that folder that I made, just called Fusion Comps. And you get to pick wherever this is. So I'm going to hit save. And now we've got this saved and we can use it in another project. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. A lot of people might think that the right move is to drag your viewer question into your power bins. And that doesn't work, because what happens is when you load it back in, it starts looking for these files and it can't find like the logo or the hexagons. And so you have to like start it over. Like you have to find it every single time. This is a different way of doing it. It works really well. I'm going to come up here to my home. So I'm going to click on new project. I'm going to call this one subscribe, and I'm going to hit create. And you can see that my media pool is empty, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, new fusion composition. We'll call this question 1, and we will change the duration to 1 minute, 0 seconds, create. There it is right there. I'm going to drag it down to my timeline, and it says no frame available for media out. That's because I don't have anything in this fusion composition. So I'll click on fusion, and I'm going to file, import a fusion composition that I've already made, my nnviewerq.comp, open. We've got our entire fusion composition that we just made in the other project now available to us. And if I click on the multi-text, I can then change the username of the person who's writing into us. We'll call this one subscribe. And then I'm going to grab their comment, paste it right there. And then if I go back to my edit page, you can see that it's been completely updated. So now later on, when I am talking about this, when I'm editing the podcast and the point comes up to where we're talking about this person's comment, I can very easily just rebuild this by cutting and pasting their comment from like the show notes into here. And then my viewers get a visual aspect to me reading their question. And that was actually pretty easy, wasn't it? Well, that's because I failed at this a bunch of times, and it took me forever to figure out how to do it. That's what failing is. It's learning. And if you want to hear me talk about why failure is good for content creators, then check out this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.